OAWALKER here, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the HTC One and the Samsung Galaxy S4. I'm going to be putting them head to head and want to see which one comes out on top. I'm going to be comparing things like specs, build quality, hardware, speed tests, camera, and all of that good stuff. And hopefully by the end of this video you have a good understanding of which phone you want and which phone you prefer, and hopefully which one you're going to buy. So without further ado, let's get this thing started. So first things first, we're just going to give a quick rundown on some of the important specs. HTC One's got a 4.7 inch screen. This is a 1080p LCD 3 screen, which is pretty good. On the S4 we got the 5-inch Super AMOLED HD, still 1080p screen, very nice screen on that as well. They both work in the same processor. The HTC One is clocked at slightly lower at 1.7 GHz, and the S4 is clocked slightly higher at 1.9 GHz. That's the Snapdragon 600 processor, pretty good, quad core, very nice and fast. Let's turn this around, let's look at the cameras. HTC One's got the 4 megapixel ultra camera, which does take pretty shots in low light situations, but the S4 it's got the 30 megapixel camera, which does take overall better pictures and much more detail in the pictures, but I'll get into that later on. Storage wise, this is 32 gig and this is 16, but you only get just over 9 gigs of usable storage to actually install your applications and stuff like that. But you can have an SD card in there, but something to bear in mind, you can't move all your applications over to the SD card, which is kind of disappointing. So you only get just over 9 gig for your applications. At the top here we also got the IR blasters on both of them at the top, so you can use this as a remote control. I do have videos on my channel if you want to go check that out as well. And the S4 has a slightly bigger battery. It's got a 2600 mAh battery, slightly bigger than the one on the HTC One. Now I'm going to be comparing the phones physically. When you put them side to side, they're roughly about the same height, but the S3 is just a tiny bit taller. When I mean a tiny bit, it's barely noticeable, but it's just a tiny bit taller. Let's put these side to side. You can see roughly how thin they are. See it from the top. When you put it slightly down, the HTC One is a little bit taller. I don't know if you can see that, it's just that much taller. I think they're, yep, roughly about even. It's just about that much taller. You can see how both of them are. Give you a good walkthrough. You can see where the ports are at the bottom. This back down. Let's actually take a look at the phone itself. So you can see in the front part of the phone you got the front facing cameras at the top, the HTC logo is at the bottom on this one, HTC logo is at the top on that one, and you got the physical button that on the S4, and the two capacitive buttons, the menu button and the back button. On the HTC One you got the back button and the home button. There's no menu button on there, so if you were to open up an application you might get a little bar down here that acts as a menu button, which is really annoying, and it does take up a lot of space. Say for example you're playing a game, that bottom bar will be there and it can be really annoying, so that's just something to bear in mind. Speakers on the front here, sound quality in this is amazing. The music is, and the sound is playing towards you as opposed to away from you. On the S4 the speakers on the back, and you only got a tiny little speaker there, while these ones you got two massive speakers on the front. So the HTC One has much better audio quality. Let's look at it on the back. You can see what the design is like on the back. You can see you got the camera right there in the middle. You got the design, Beats audio and everything. This is made out of aluminium. You can see the white polycarbonate strip going around and across here and at the top. That's to help with the radio and the signal, because when you have a metal body you need to make sure you have a good signal on the phone, so that's why those plastic areas are there. And on the back of this one you can see what the design is like. It's got these kind of little checkered patterns on the back. Hopefully, I don't know if you can pick that up on camera. It's okay, the design of it is okay, it looks pretty cool, but it is a fingerprint magnet. That's something to bear in mind as well. And you got the camera in the center as well, so you can see how both of them look. when you put them side by side. And the way it feels in your hand, when you have both of these in your hand, the HTC One feels a lot better in your hand. It just feels more premium when you're holding it in your hand. When the S4 doesn't, it feels a bit more, it feels kind of slippery and grimy in the hand. After a while, after you get fingerprints on there, it does get a bit dirty, and you do need to wipe it down more often than you need to wipe down the HTC One. So that does get annoying, and it does take away from the premium feel of it, but it does feel a lot better than the Samsung Galaxy S3, the previous one. But it just has that slippery kind of grimy feel to it after a while. So that's something to bear in mind. If you really like build quality on a phone, you're going to be better off with the HTC One, because the build quality is outstanding on it, and it's made from a much better material. And also, if you look on the S4, you can see it's got this kind of metal effect strip going around the phone. It's not metal, it's actually plastic that is made to look like metal, but it still looks pretty cool, and it kind of gives it a nice kind of feel in the hand. Don't get me wrong, the phone doesn't feel horrible in the hand. It does feel okay, it doesn't feel that bad. Still feels pretty good. But when you compare it to the HTC One, the HTC One is a clear winner when it comes to build quality. This aluminium and the cold touch to it when you pick up in the morning, it's pretty good. And something to bear in mind in the HTC One is when you're playing games and you're doing a lot of stuff on the phone, it does get pretty warm because it is a conductive material, whereas the S4 doesn't get as warm. So that's it when it comes to build quality. Now before I jump into the software, I just want to touch on one thing, and that's the screen quality on both of the screens. The Samsung Galaxy S4 has got the 1080p screen, 5-inch, and it's got a PPI of 441. And also bear in mind, this has got Corning Gorilla Glass 3, and the HTC One's got Corning Gorilla Glass 2, and it's still got the same 1080p screen and the 4.7-inch screen, and it's got a higher PPI just because of that smaller screen. Overall, when you're looking at the both of them, they both have really good sharp images when you're viewing it. Because the S4 has a Super AMOLED screen, you're gonna, when you're viewing like colorful photos or pictures and stuff like that, the screen is really gonna pop, and everything's gonna look very nice. But on the HTC One, when you're viewing pictures, everything has a more natural, true to life tone to it, which is really nice. And the Samsung Galaxy S4's got a warm tone to it. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down to my personal preference, I would have to go with the HTC One, just because when you're viewing pictures, it has this nice, natural, normal tone to it, and everything just looks much better. But that's my personal preference. Both screens are still amazing. When it comes down to software, the HTC is running a slightly lower version of Android. It's running Android 4.1.2, while the Samsung Galaxy S3 is running the latest version out there right now, 4.2.2. So if you want some of the features like the expandable notifications and some of the other features that are in 4.2, you might want to go with this device, but they're still really good. HTC running Sense 5.0 on top. Very nice skin on top of Android. You get stuff like blink feed and a whole bunch of other customizations and stuff to make the phone a lot better. While on the Samsung Galaxy S4, you got TouchWiz. It all comes down to personal preference. You want to do some research on TouchWiz and HTC Sense and see which one you actually prefer. There's a lot of different features in each one of them, and each one of them look completely different, so that's something that you're gonna have to make a decision on your own. Next, we're gonna be taking a look at battery life. Each of these phones will definitely get you throughout the day without any issues at all. Both of these will get you through the day quite easily depending on how you use it, but you shouldn't have any problems there. But you should expect to be charging each one of these phones every night just to make sure. Right now I didn't charge this today. I took off the charger yesterday, and I haven't really been using the phone much, and it's still got 50%, 56% left, and I haven't charged it since yesterday, and it's what, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's still going. And I took the battery off the S4 today, this morning, and it's only at 68%. I have noticed something though. At the end of the day, I always have a little bit more charge on the HTC One over the S4. That might be down to my personal experience and how I use it, but I did notice that I have a little bit extra on the HTC One, because I've been off the charge for about 6 hours and 45 minutes, and it's got 68% left. But anyway, that's it for the battery life. And if you're wondering about benchmarks, I've done a comparison video comparing both of these with benchmark. This is just the results that I got for the Antutu test. You can see the Samsung Galaxy S4 scored a little bit higher, HTC One's a little bit lower, but they're roughly around the same when it comes to benchmark. Very similar results, but the S4 just gets slightly higher in most of the results, and the HTC One does get a little higher results in some tests. But check out my benchmark videos comparing the two devices. Now we're going to be taking a look at which one's faster, the HTC One and S4, and I've been using them for a while now, and I've noticed that the HTC One is smoother in most areas. Like when you're browsing through the app trays and just, you know, general use of the phone, I've noticed that the HTC One is a bit smoother. Every now and then I do get the occasional stutter and lag from the S4. I think they're trying to put too many features onto the phone, and it's making it kind of bloated and it's making it lag. Like for example, I did experience lag when opening up these folders. I don't know if it would happen now, but sometimes when I'm opening these folders up, I do see the lag, the drop in frame rate as I'm opening up the folder, because of that animation. But when you look at it on the HTC One, how it just instantly pops up, it just seems so much faster, more fluid. You can see as I'm scrolling across. Overall, the HTC One just seems just a bit smoother to me. Now we're going to launch some applications up at exactly the same time and see, you know, see which one's a bit faster. So I've got a few applications here that I just want to try out. Just to say, I did a full reboot. None of these applications were open up before, so make the test as first possible. First, we're going to start off with BBC iPlayer. Going to tap at exactly the same time. I'm not sure. I think the Samsung Galaxy S4 was slightly quicker, but you could watch it back and kind of see for yourself which one's quicker. But I think the S4 was slightly quicker. Just gonna go back home. Next, we're gonna do Engadget, exactly at the same time. You have to agree to it. I did notice the S4 did pop it up a bit quicker. Go back again. Let's try Google Maps. Exactly the same time. S4 is quicker. Next, we're gonna go off to Play Store. We're gonna see which one opens up first. But so far, the S4 seems to be a little bit faster when it's opening up applications, but they're more or less exactly the same. To my eye, I think the HTC One was a little bit quicker, but like I said, play back the video and be a judge for yourself. It's too close for me to call. So let's go back to the home. We're going to open up something a bit more intensive. We're going to open up Dead Trigger. The S4 is loading it up pretty quickly. Let's wait a few seconds. Yeah. You can see when you're opening up like high intensive applications like a game and stuff like that, S4 is noticeably quicker. Well, the next one we do The Verge, another one, exactly the same time. Ooh, not too sure. It looks exactly the same, but I think the HTC One was a bit quicker on that one. And the last test, we're going to open up XDA. Loaded up, the S4 loaded up a bit quicker. And last thing we're going to do is launch the camera, just for fun. I have to say the HTC One looked a bit quicker on that one. Like I said, judge for yourself which one was quicker. I couldn't really tell, it's hard to tell. But you can watch back the video and see which one was quicker. So that just, hopefully that will give you a good idea of what the speed is like and which one is faster. When you general use, I think the HTC One, I did notice was just a lot smoother in most areas, and I did notice the occasional lag on the S4. It's not to say that the S4 is laggy, but I'm just saying every now and then you might experience dropped frame in some applications or some task that you're doing, or just slightly laggy. Not like huge lag, but just a little bit of lag, but something just to bear in mind as well. When it comes to music, the music experience has to go with the HTC One. It's by far the best music experience you're going to find on any device. It's got the Beats audio in there as well, which is pretty damn good. It makes everything sound good. Every single audio that comes out of the phone, whether you're listening to music, watching YouTube videos, or even in any third-party application, it still works, and it just makes everything sound so much better. Even the headphones that you get with it are amazing, and it's got the two front-facing speakers that are facing towards you, and it just sounds really good. But in the S4, it doesn't sound as great. You only got one small speaker on the back right here. It does produce loud, sound to it, but it's just not as good as the HTC One. It's not as clear. So yeah, if you're really into music and you really like listening to music and you enjoy listening to music, and it's very important when you're getting your next phone, definitely HTC One's the way to go. So I've got internet browsers open up. We're going to see which one loads up first. We're going to open up the verge.com and kind of see which one is quicker. I did clear the cache, the cookies and everything, and that was roughly about the same time. We're going to see which one's a bit quicker. They're both over Wi-Fi, and it looks like the S4 is loaded up already, and HTC One hasn't loaded up anything yet. There we go. Quite a bit of difference here. S4 loaded up quite quickly. We're going to go onto the full site. We're going to try hit this exactly the same time. Roughly about the same time. And the S4 is going to town. It's almost loaded up. HTC One still loading. The bar hasn't finished yet. HTC, okay. Looks like the S4 is a bit quicker on that one. You can see the S4 has loaded everything up. And you can see general scrolling. You can see if one scroll, it gets me, oops, about a little bit of lag on the S4. One scroll, two, it gets me further on the page when I scroll with the HTC One with one scroll. It just seems a bit quicker and more responsive. Let's zoom in a bit. Both seem pretty responsive. It looks like the S4 just seems a bit more responsive. We're going to open up another link. Looks like we already, nope. Okay, let's open up this one. Roughly about the same time. S4 loads up pretty damn quick, and it's more or less done. Let's wait for that little bar to finish up. Yep, S4 is done. I think overall, when you're looking at web browsing, the S4 is a bit faster, and it seems to be a bit smoother as well. And when you're looking at a web page, you're zoomed in already. You're kind of like zoomed in and it refills the text, but you can turn that off if you don't like it. But anyway, I would say the web browsing experience is a little bit better on the Samsung Galaxy S4. Next, I'm just going to touch on the cameras really quickly. Both of the cameras are really good. Despite having a 4 megapixel camera, ultra camera on the HTC One, it does take pretty good, decent photos, especially in low light. So you can see that right there. You can see, not showing great on camera, but you can see the image quality is pretty good on it. It's sharp. On the S4 it is a bit more sharper. There's a bit more detail when you're taking photos with the S4, but the camera really performs much better in low light situations on the HTC One. But both cameras are still pretty good. But if you really take a lot of pictures with your phone and the camera is an important feature to you, I would go with the S4 just because it's got the much more detail when you're taking photos. So to wrap up, both phones are really great. The HTC One is good. It has amazing hardware, great speakers, and an okay camera that takes good low light photos. Samsung Galaxy S4, the build quality isn't as good, but it's still a powerhouse. Software is good, it is fast, the occasional lag every now and then, but you know, that's something you need to take into consideration. And if you're asking the question, which one should you get, I'd love to have a choice for you, but it all depends on you and what you prefer, your personal preference. So if you like HTC Sense, you could go with that, or if you like TouchWiz, you could go with that, or if you don't like any of that, you can just throw Nova Launcher in there and completely change it up and customize it the way that you want. So it all comes down to personal preference. Do you prefer a better camera? Do you take a lot of low light photos? You know, you need to take that into consideration. Do you want a bigger screen? Do you want a better build quality? There's a whole bunch of stuff that you need to take into consideration when you're picking which phone. But when it comes down to me, I would have to go with the Samsung Galaxy S4. That's my personal preference. It's just because I like to have the slightly bigger screen. Even though the build quality isn't that great, I could put it in a case and I could kind of forget about the build quality. I like the fact that it's easier to root. You got the better camera, and yeah, those are just some of my personal preferences why I would pick the S4 over the HTC One. Hopefully this video gave you a good understanding on which one you want to get and which one you prefer. Leave that in the comment section down below. Which one do you like? Which one are you getting? Leave all that good stuff in the comment section down below. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and thanks for watching. Peace.